Why was a vast stone city built high on a steep Andean ridge, wrapped in cloud and jungle, only to be left unfinished and largely hidden for centuries? Choquequirao rests above the Apurímac River in southern Peru, suspended between sky and canyon. From a distance, the mountains appear endless, layer upon layer of dark slopes rising into mist. Clouds drift slowly across ridgelines, light breaks through in narrow bands. The air feels thin, quiet, and immense. Nothing here seems easy. The terrain drops sharply on every side. Deep valleys carve through the landscape. Trails cling to steep hillsides. Wind moves across terraces cut into near vertical slopes. The ground itself feels temporary, shaped by erosion and rain. And yet, carved into this demanding terrain, stone platforms and walls emerge. Terraces descend in long sequences down the mountainside. Stairways connect levels with measured precision. Plazas open unexpectedly between steep drops. Buildings rest on foundations anchored directly into rock. From above, the site spreads across multiple ridges, extending far beyond what is immediately visible. Choquequirao does not reveal itself fully. Large portions remain buried beneath vegetation. Dense growth covers entire sectors. Only parts of the city have been cleared, leaving much of its scale still uncertain. What we see may be only a fraction. The site occupies a strategic height, overlooking one of the deepest canyons in the Andes. The Apurímac River flows far below, a silver line cutting through stone. The surrounding mountains form natural corridors linking highland and lowland zones. From this position, movement through the region could be observed and directed, but building here required extraordinary effort. Stone had to be shaped and transported along narrow paths. Terraces had to be stabilized against gravity. Water had to be captured on steep slopes. Every surface demanded engineering. For a place so remote and difficult, the scale is surprising. There are no written accounts describing its purpose, no surviving records explaining its foundation. The city speaks only through walls, terraces, and alignments, and so the question lingers in the mountain air. Why was such a vast urban center constructed in one of the Andes' most challenging landscapes? To understand how Choquequirao functioned, the surrounding mountains must be seen as part of its design. This region lies where high Andean plateaus descend toward the Amazon basin. Moist air rises from lowlands and condenses into cloud forest. Rain falls frequently. Slopes remain damp for much of the year. Vegetation grows quickly, pressing against stone. Water shapes everything here. Streams appear suddenly after storms. Springs emerge from fractured rock. Mist settles across terraces at dawn. Without careful control, erosion would quickly destroy any construction. Choquequirao's survival depended on guiding water rather than resisting it. Channels were carved into stone to carry runoff away from foundations. Sloped surfaces directed rain toward drainage paths. Terraces were built with internal layers that allowed water to pass through without weakening walls. Retaining structures anchored soil against gravity. Each element worked quietly to stabilize the mountain. The terraces served multiple purposes. They created level ground for buildings and cultivation. They moderated temperature by absorbing sunlight during the day and releasing heat at night. They slowed landslides and soil loss. Together, they transformed unstable slopes into usable space. Within the city, space followed the mountain's contours. Long stairways rose and fell between sectors. Narrow passages curved around outcrops. Open plazas appeared where ridges widened. Movement was slow and deliberate, guided by terrain rather than straight lines. Stonework reflects long planning. Blocks were cut precisely and fitted without mortar. Walls leaned slightly inward, strengthening against earthquakes. Foundations were anchored deep into bedrock. These techniques allowed structures to endure in a region of constant motion. Agricultural areas extended beyond ceremonial zones. Terraces supported crops adapted to high elevations. Water from springs and rain-fed channels sustained these fields. Storage spaces near living areas suggest careful management of limited resources. Despite its scale, Choquequirao shows no signs of hurried construction. Additions follow existing patterns. New terraces align with older ones. The city grew through measured expansion. This raises deeper questions. How was such complex engineering maintained in such isolation? What system supported continuous care across generations? The stone reveals skill, but not the organization behind it. As Choquequirao expanded across its ridges, its layout became increasingly intricate. The city was not confined to a single plateau. It unfolded in sectors, each connected by stairways that traced the mountain's natural curves. Some terraces stretch for hundreds of feet along steep slopes, their stone faces rising from dense vegetation like quiet steps carved into the sky. From certain vantage points, the arrangement becomes clear. Plazas occupy relatively stable ground near the ridge tops. Residential and storage structures cluster along protected terraces. Agricultural zones descend toward warmer elevations. The city adapts to altitude, shaping itself according to subtle changes in climate and soil. One of the most striking features lies on a distant hillside, large terrace walls embedded with pale stone figures forming geometric patterns. These shapes, visible from afar, add another layer of intention to the landscape. They suggest communication across space, design meant to be seen from across the valley rather than only from within the city. Water channels weave through nearly every sector. Some are visible at the surface, others run beneath terraces. They distribute water evenly, preventing erosion while sustaining crops and daily use. Springs were integrated directly into plazas and living spaces. Nothing about the system appears improvised, yet much of Choquequirao remains concealed. Thick vegetation covers entire sections. Excavation has revealed only part of the site. Beneath the soil and roots, additional terraces, stairways, and structures likely wait. The visible city may represent only a portion of its full scale. This incomplete knowledge deepens the mystery. Was Choquequirao intended to rival other major Andean centers? Was it a regional hub, a seasonal retreat, or a strategic outpost? Its size suggests importance. Its location suggests control, but its isolation complicates interpretation. The city feels both connected and distant. Its design reflects long-term vision. Its unfinished sectors hint at interruption. Something altered its trajectory, and the mountain, patient and quiet, began to reclaim its slopes. In its later years, Choquequirao appears to have slowed rather than shattered. There is no single layer of destruction marking a dramatic end, no widespread burning, no collapsed walls that suggest sudden violence. Instead, certain sectors show signs of incomplete construction. Some terraces were left unfinished. A few stairways lead toward areas that were never fully developed. In a place where stability required constant attention, even small interruptions mattered. The Andes are a landscape of change. Heavy rains loosen soil, earthquakes shift foundations, landslides reshape slopes in moments. Maintaining such an elevated city demanded steady labor across generations. If that rhythm weakened, gravity and weather would begin their quiet work. Broader regional shifts may also have played a role. Movement patterns through the canyon could have changed. Trade routes may have shifted toward more accessible valleys. Environmental pressures, including climate fluctuations, might have altered agricultural productivity at high elevations. In a system built on balance between ridge and valley, subtle changes would have carried weight. Over time, activity appears to have drifted away. Without renewal, terraces softened, drainage channels clogged with sediment, vegetation crept into stairways. Mist settled over abandoned plazas. Stone remained, but daily movement faded. Choquequirao did not collapse in spectacle. It gradually dissolved into cloud and forest. Today, much of the city still lies beneath dense growth. Only portions have been cleared, revealing plazas, terraces, and finely cut walls against dramatic canyon views. The Apurímac River continues to flow far below. Mountains still rise in every direction. Wind still moves through open stone frames. And so the question returns: why was such a vast Andean city built in this remote, demanding terrain, and why was it never fully realized? The evidence suggests ambition shaped by geography, engineering, guided by mountain knowledge, and a vision tied closely to landscape. It also suggests that even the most carefully designed highland systems depend on continuity. Choquequirao remains partly hidden, suspended between discovery and silence. If this journey through Choquequirao has stayed with you, you're welcome to continue exploring these ancient mountain landscapes with us. And what do you think inspired builders to shape a city so high above the valley floor?